Well, welcome back, guys. I think we're up and on. I hope we are. Everything on my end looks fairly good. Any comments?
So, yeah, we want to apologize to our viewers for technical snafu that we had, but we are back up and running now. So let's just quickly make some comments here for the next minute and a half that we have, or actually we have a little bit more time because we have warm-up coming up. But we do have the qualifying session that is done. Andres Prado, 114.5, took the pole.
And what do you think about that time, Alex?
Yeah, the time's pretty good. It looked very stable, very smooth when he did it.
And how about that Marty Eiran? Boy, he is way behind Andres, isn't he?
Yeah, there's a mile between them. There's only one thousandth of a second.
That isn't even the 1,000 we were talking about offline there. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's immensely close. That's like getting on the accelerator milliseconds earlier through one corner somewhere during the lap.
So we can look for big action down at corner 10. And I actually think we're going to see some old shenanigans arise from coming around on the first turn, corner 1, up the hill into corner 2 and 3. I think we're going to see all sorts of action through there.
I'd have to agree with you, Jack. The beginning of the race is always a high tension time for most of these guys. You know, when you get the hole shot coming off of the line when the green light drops, if you have that hole shot, I guess the biggest concern is just keeping your rear end clean because you got clean track out in front of you, and as we know, sometimes that's a little hard to do.
And Alex, you're having some technical difficulties tonight. You're after shipping the car all the way over from the UK. They lost your steering wheel.
Yeah, it fell off.
And I would have thought, you know, with the camaraderie around here at NAGP, that they would have somebody would have loaned you one, but I guess not tonight.
It's pretty difficult to do when there's a big giant pond between us.
Well, you know, you could have always stepped up onto your buddy over there, Dav, and asked him to ship you his wheel.
Yeah, but he's got the small problem of being in his bed just now. He's missed the race.
Yeah, Dav has that problem the odd time. Well, we are going over into warm-up.
Yep, our warm-up.
Yeah, weather was really cold actually. Although weather doesn't really matter until the race.
Wow, 15 degrees Celsius though. This is soft tire weather.
Yeah, but we all know about that changeable weather mod. Anything can happen here. And anything we should look for, is this going to be a tricky one in the rain?
This track in the wet is certainly a challenge.
Yeah, those
especially
S's,
the first sector.
Yeah, those S's were going to be, as you mentioned earlier, if you drag a tire off into the off the track there in those S's, you're going to be in some big doo-doo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Puts you out into the kitty litter, and as we know, you can certainly blow your engine trying to get out of that stuff.
So I see up there on the chat board, we are still not on air.
Well, it's showing no video, but we're going to keep it. I already made the announcement that we're going to keep it going, and if anything, the rebroadcast can be watched afterwards.
Well, that surely is a bummer for you guys out there. We're real sorry about that. Things look good on this end. I don't know where the problem would be. There's nothing else running but this, and the frame rates are good. Showing 87 frames per second, so have no idea, folks. But we'll hang in here, guys.
So, qualifying done. We're in warm-up now. We got about 3 minutes left of warm-up, and early indications showing that Andres Prado is on pace to set the early pace for these guys out here today.
And that's going to play into the team championships. Alex, you got any info for us on the team championship?
Yes, in just a wee second. When I find it again.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, in first place right now in the team championship is Sorche Verde. In second place is H&C Racing, and third it's Precision Motorsport. And fourth place we've got Rolf Sport Racing, and fifth we've got TBR OK Dam Bam with 130 points.
So
what's the point spread?
Well, we've got Sorche Verde at 162 and H&C at 156, PMR 153. Those three teams are in the thick of it.
Wow, certainly in the hunt.
Absolutely. Now, you know, something I wanted to make mention of too, and for anybody there, Jonathan Cuppett last week got his first point last Thursday night, and kudos to you, Jonathan. So you hang in there, you keep racing. It's tough to get points around here, guys.
Yeah, it surely is tough to get points around here. Considering the level of competition that's been kicked up several notches from last season. But again, we've had some new faces show up, both in GT2 and GT1, that have raised the bar some. Not a bad deal if you ask me. The more the merrier, and there's always room for more. And our broadcast is back, just to let you know.
And anything can happen around here, as we saw, I think, last Monday. I was wondering what happened to our latest Lone Ranger, Wyatt, as he didn't do too well in his third race there at NAGP.
Well, Wyatt was shown the resiliency of our veterans here at NAGP. However, he did put in a fairly decent run. He was still running top 10. However, Bathurst probably proved to be just a little too much considering night racing and everything else that was going on. We did have a newcomer, forgot his last name.
Ryan Mayfield.
We had Ryan Mayfield. Yes, he came on board and was running good until his pit stop, and that's where the inexperience bit him, because it dropped him considerably back into the field.
Well, I wonder if he's any relation to Curtis Mayfield. Only joking.
That's a good question. I do know, naturally, whenever we have someone new pop up here at NAGP, I'm the Google doctor, so I'll start Googling your name until I find something about who you are, where you are. Interestingly enough, Ryan Mayfield wasn't one that I can pinpoint where he was from or what he was doing previously. The only Ryan Mayfield that I came across associated with any type of racing was Ryan Mayfield of Team Associated fame in the remote control car arena, the off-road 10 scale and 8 scale buggies and stuff like that. So not sure if that was the Ryan that was racing with us.
Gee, Ken, I think they call that creeping, don't they?
Internet stalking.
So, we've got 46 laps here. We're going into race, and count them down, Ken.
Okay, in P1, starting on pole, Andres Prado. Marty Wren will start second, John Sportelli third. Fourth will go to Eiran Parsons, and fifth, Juan Monroy.
In 6th place is Chris Moses. 7th is Rich Proman, exactly where he wanted to start. 8th place is Al Merriman. 9th is David Poe, and 10th goes to Greg Myers.
John Ludden will start 11th, John Wathen in 12th, Ryan Schleif will start 13th, Andres Cole in 14th, and Marco Conti in 15th.
Sergio Calderon in 16th, Daniel Wilkerson in 17th, John McIntyre in 18th, Cup Douglas in 19th, and 20th goes to John Houston.
So Lou Mascarelli will start in P21, John Cuppett 22, Mike Greatrix will start 23rd, Chuck Carter in 24th, and Salem Montgomery Jr. will start 25th, and that is your running field for tonight.
Guys, I have some serious issues going on here. The broadcast is all bunged up. I don't know what is going on here tonight, folks, but it looks like we are all messed up here.
Alright, well.
Okay, they've got the grid set properly again. I just had it restart, and it looks like they're going to race in another 2 minutes. So thank goodness it wasn't on my end. I was ready to chuck it in for the night, boys.
There was something going on at the start line. These cars were just all over each other. So it looks like something maybe on the server side, Jack.
It looked like a National Geographic wildebeest mating ritual out there tonight.
And here we have the rarely seen Andres Prieto.
Interestingly enough, this starting grid on this track comes down the hill into your last turn, really. So it's going to be interesting to see what the midfield is going to be doing come the green light.
Yeah, starting on a corner is never really a good thing. You want to be trying to keep the wheel as straight as possible, but at the same time, don't go completely straight and don't spin the car.
Yeah, you're starting on cold tires, so that's a challenge in and of itself. Just looking here real quick, it looks like the first dozen or so positions are good to go because they're on the straight, but past that, boy, it's going to get a little dicey, I think.
Yeah, and they are jumping in and out of the pits. Looks like they're getting themselves set up now. We're going to start something a little different. I am going to go rear view cam, and we're going to watch the top four take it into the first corner. GT1 Thursday night, 61 laps of race action, and the hammer is dropped. Sportelli with a big start. Right up the rear end of Prado, but Prado is on the inside. And Sportelli, and Prado, close action. Wow.
That was a fantastic start by Sportelli.
Absolutely. He just got himself slungshot right on the inside there of Prado.
Well, looking at that pass, Sportelli driving in the very early going as a hungry man, so he may be hungry enough to try and take this from pole all the way to the finish. We're going to have to see how this pans out.
Yeah, before the race he said he was feeling quite good about the car. He thought he could get pole, but that didn't happen, but he does seem to be feeling very good for the race. He's already pulled out a bit of a gap to Andres.
Yeah, he's pulling out an early gap, and Andres has got more trouble right on his tail in the form of Marty Eiran.
Marty tries up the inside, side by side, turning into 10-10, and Andres keeps it. Well kept by Andres.
Well, that was one of the cleanest starts I've seen in a long time, guys.
Yeah, you have to agree.
I just cycled through the whole pack there quickly, and you know what? They're all clean and green.
Very nice job to all the drivers tonight.
Sportelli, Prado, Eiran, and Parsons, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they look like they're starting to put a little bit of a gap on Juan Monroy, who looks like he's being chased big time by Roman.
Boy, quick update back in P25. John Wathen just had an off on the first lap. Not sure what happened there, but looks like he's got some aero damage on that car.
Boy, a little farther back, I'm in Juan Monroy is being harassed by Rich Roman. But 7 and 8, Chris Moses and Big Al Merriman running 7-8 with David Poole right behind in 9th.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see these two teammates try and help each other out by drafting. It would be a good strategy here. Help them both to gain a couple of positions around this track, especially down that long back straightaway.
Well, David Poole's going to have his hands full too, because we've got that John Ludden, and he really likes that Corvette. He's got that thing set up this season real well.
Yeah, when I drove it I found it a bit understeery. I think it'd be a bit difficult through the S's through here, but John's got it figured out well.
Well, just a little farther back in P12 with Ryan Schleif, who just put an excellent pass on Greg Myers.
And as you guys know, we saw Ryan Schleif make a huge improvement several weeks back in that Pagani Huayra car when they were running over at Spa. The outcome was unfortunate. However, he did display some raw driving talent that night.
Yeah, he had an unfortunate second stint that night, but boy, oh boy, that guy shows some flashes of brilliance.
Yeah, he's improved a lot this season.
Yeah,
He's got that SR7 saline of Greg Myers right on his tail. So, and as we know, Greg Myers loves to drive the line, doesn't give much of an inch to anybody. But we'll certainly... Oh, John Ludden has an off and allows Greg Myers to take over that 12th position.
broadcaster's curse.
John slipping right down the order to 18th, maybe 19th soon. Yep, 19th.
Yep. Mike Ratrix gets by John Ludden as well.
Now he's got his work cut out to get back up there.
Yeah, he certainly does. I mean, John Ludden has pace on most of the guys on the immediate group that's directly in front of him.
And is now in 25th.
Liquid
He's got a
lube.
big push in that. He's got a big push in that Ford GT.
Teammate not doing too well so far.
Back up the front, we've got Sportelli, Prado, Eiran, and Parsons, and they're gapping to the next P5. So these four are hanging in pretty tight up front.
Yeah, 4 laps gone. They're already near enough 5 seconds ahead of one, so top 4 are already beginning to gap a bit.
Yeah, and you know, with a short track like this, what do you think? Lap traffic going to play a big one on this one? Because you know, there can be some tight spots for passing here.
Yeah, when we had the GT2 race here a couple of seasons ago, that lost positions because of lap traffic.
Yeah, that was probably me holding
It's
you up,
very
Alex.
difficult,
but,
especially
you know,
through the S's.
I'll apologize for it now 2 years later.
Apology accepted.
Well, you know, you can, you know, coming up onto the slower cars and those S's, I mean, they can be quite harrowing for these slower drivers, you know, to have the leaders come and press you through there.
But the best thing for these fast drivers to do is to show some restraint as well as resiliency and wait for the opportune time to get by. We're looking at Andres Prado up front real quick, trying to put an inside move on John Sportelli, but he doesn't get it done this time around. And getting through the S's, coming up on lap traffic through the S's, I would suggest the leaders show a little restraint, that wait for that opportune time to get by.
Yeah, You have to do that.
It's a fine balancing act. It's like walking on a high wire.
Do you have experience?
None at all. That's why I'm always finishing in the back.
Fair enough. Yeah, I was going to say, Andres looked like he had a bit of speed on John, but he's dropped back a tiny wee bit through the first sector of this lap.
Well, if there's one thing we know about Andres Prado, and one trait of his that he displays here week in and week out, is that he has a slight tendency when trying to advance forward within the grid. He has a slight tendency of overdriving the car, and he probably backed off just a little bit. He doesn't want to do that so early in the race. 90 minutes of racing is a long time around here, and they're pulling laps in the 116, 117 range at race pace, so there's a lot of racing left to be had for you to start overdriving and pushing your car way too hard this early on in the race.
I'm back with Greg Myers and Andre Cole, and Greg Myers outbraked Andre Cole in turn 10 and has taken the position, but I think Andre's saying, I'm coming back at you, Mr. Smooth, so watch out.
Yeah. That is the main overtaking opportunity on the track.
Greg Myers and Andres Cole through the S's right now. This is probably the most harrowing part of the track, but even still, as technical as it is, it's got great flow, high-speed corners.
Yeah, the elevation changes there are great.
Ooh, Rich Roman runs a bit wide. Might let Al Merriman get a run on him. That F40's really fast in a straight line. Al trying for the slipstream right now. Probably going to get it, but Rich is blocking the inside line. Al Merriman goes to the right hand side. Can he get it round the outside? It's close.
Al Merriman trying to establish authority in the turn, letting them know, hey, I'm here. Let it go, let it go.
That was some good driving by both of them there to give each other space, and Al Merriman comes away with possession.
Yep, and now Poole trying to capitalize on Rich Roman.
Boy, that is a great battle going on there, guys, for 7, 8, 9.
Ooh, right. David's a bit sideways going into 3. Rich looks like he's really struggling with that Maserati. And for the championship right now, it's not looking too good for Rich Roman.
It sure looks like David Poole is going to try and get up behind him and suck a draft.
This is the time to do it.
Lamborghini's not that good in the straight line, so you'd need a fantastic exit off of the turn before the straight.
Whoa, and it looks like Al got sloppy in that corner there.
That's bunched them up.
You know, this trio was gaining some ground on Moses, who's sitting in P6 right now, as Al gets a little sideways going into turn 1, but they were gaining some ground on Moses because they were pushing so hard. We're going to have to see how this pans out now. Still seeing a little bit of Moses while looking at Al in my screen, so not out of the realm of possibility that they can pull up on him a little bit.
No, these battles usually end up helping who is ever out in front there, and Moses should be able to put a little bit of gap on this trio here, but doesn't seem to be able to be doing that.
Yeah, Chris Moses right now seems to be going through a bad bit of form. He's not been performing to his usual standards.
No, not the greatest season for Chris, but you know, not all that bad. He is sitting in 6th spot in the Drivers' Championship, so I mean, hey, Alex, 6th in this league's pretty good.
Yeah. He's also a multiple GT1 and GT2 champion.
Yes, one of the best in the league, that's for sure, long term.
So out front, John Sportelli in the McLaren F1 holding it down, but Marty Eiran trying to pull up on his bumper, also driving McLaren F1. If you guys remember, last season Sporto was making great strides in the Ferrari 550 Maranello car. Had it hooked up towards the end of the season there, and he's making huge improvements this season with the Ferrari F1.
Yep, he sure is
Aaron
liking
Parsons
this
has a
McLaren.
run on Andre. Parsons up the inside. Ooh, all over the curb.
Just couldn't make it stick.
If Eiran had waited a few, just turned in a wee bit later there, that would have probably made it. He got slowed down by the curb.
Well, the wonder from down under is probably smelling blood right now and saying, maybe this lap.
Yeah, he's still not. The top four are certainly still all within touching distance. And Monroy's in fifth, pretty much on his own.
Well, these four are doing quite a great job up there at the front of the pack. And a great group of drivers up there too, so you know if they're going to make a pass, it's probably going to be very clean. But you're right, Monroy has got clean track in front and it looks behind. And nobody pressuring him right now.
Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job as well. He does a fantastic job most of the time.
Just a quick update on John London, who had dropped back to 23rd because of an off that he had, has climbed his way back up to P14.
Well, not a real surprise. He's been driving really well. And he only has missed out in points in one race this season.
Well, we have got a huge battle for 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 going on. These guys are running fairly close together.
John McIntyre up the inside into turn one. Well, that's not a normal overtaking place.
No, but I have been past there many times myself, so I know exactly how Sergio Calderon feels about that.
Sergio Calderon driving the big Aston Martin DBRS 9 with John Houston right on his tail. So lots of action going on out here tonight, guys.
Yep, our occasional Thursday night driver, John Huey Houston. Yep, just got that, Alex. He just about gave him a love tap there, but good on John to stay off his bumper.
Now John's exposed himself to Salem Montgomery, who's up the inside. Oh, John brakes later and shuts the door. Nice.
Excellent.
Yeah, that was quite a shut. Yep.
That wasn't really shutting the door politely, that was slamming it shut.
Yeah.
Well, good on Salem, though, who, you know, didn't press the issue too hard.
Yeah, again, good driving by both of them. What we've seen so far is really good driving by pretty much the whole field.
I got to agree with you, Alex. I think it's been, boy, one of the cleanest races we've seen.
Yeah, I've still not seen contact between anybody as Calderon runs wide and gives up spots to Houston and Salem. and rejoins in 18th.
And we got all that action on the TV if it ever gets out into TV land.
It's running right now, so it looks to be good. But certainly looks like something on the live stream side. It's not on our end, folks. So again, we apologize for that, but we're running smooth on our end over here.
Well, it looks great
Anyway,
from my
13
seat.
laps.
P11, Andres Cole. Our driver feature of the night,
Well,
Mr. Andres Cole.
just a little tidbit here on Andre Cole. Up until this season, so he has got up to date 58 races in GT1. He's got 6 top 10s. His best start is 7th. His best finish is 6th. He has 18 DNFs. His average start is 19th, and his average finish is 15th. What else do we know about this character?
Well, he was, Andres was kind enough to fill out our weekly NAGP driver feature form, and we have some information here on him. Some personal information. His full name, Andres C. Avila, or as we say in Spanish, Avila. And his age, 38. His country of birth is Colombia, and his country of residence, Colombia, and he races out of Bogota.
Well, he has been a steady performer here. Never seems to be in much trouble out there.
Nope. Nope, not at all. I'll tell you this much. Some of his personal favorites. Food, barbecue, and seafood. Man after my own heart.
He drinks beer, lots.
Drinks
Looks
lots of
like
beer.
it's his favorite drink. Yeah.
Now,
It's a fairly common thing to do.
how long has this guy been sim racing?
Well, he's been sim racing for 18 years and has been at NAGP for 4 or 5 years, he thinks.
Yeah. Long time. 18. That is a long time.
Well, 6 seasons would just be over 3 years at NAGP, so time is marching a little quicker than he has stated there, but we've got 6 seasons in the book.
Not bad at all. So here's some more information on our driver feature of the night. His favorite television show, Big Bang Theory, and his favorite movie, Across the Universe and Lord of the Rings. Favorite actor, Billy Crystal, and his favorite actress, his ex-wife. Not sure who his ex-wife is, but
Hey, we're going to have to
I think
Google
I'm
that,
gonna
Andre.
internet's-
And that's not going to be creepy
yes,
at all.
we're gonna have to internet stalk it.
Well, Ken's the
Not at all.
Googler here.
So Alex, give us some of his motorsports favorites.
Yeah, his favourite series is to watch is WTCC and Formula. His favourite driver is Fernando Alonso. And his favourite motorsport team is the Lotus Renault.
Very good. Very nice. So we asked Andres who, if anybody, has been your sim racing mentor. His response: all the competitors make you better. Special thanks to Rich and Brad for their support.
Well, teammate and driving instructor obviously has done real well with both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. We also asked him who his biggest competitor here at NAGP on track was. He says it's his teammate.
Well, let's not go swamp and paint there with your teammate, Andres.
No,
meanwhile,
not at
the
all.
front, Marty Eiran and John Sports Ellie side by side coming into turn 10, bump doors. Marty Eiran's a bit too far back now to get the braking, and John Sportelli keeps the lead.
Just switched up there. Thanks for the update there, Alex.
Marty Eiran trying to get a better run through the blast corner. He's got a run on him, but it's going to be difficult into turn 1, side by side again. Marty Eiran tries it. That's going to be close.
Oh, they broke doors.
That was a bit rude.
You call it as you see it there. That's the way I do it, Alex. But, you know, I mentioned that earlier, that turn 1, these guys are going to try and press that turn 1, and it's not the greatest spot.
Yeah, John Sportelli seems a bit rattled by that. He ran a bit wide through turn, I think that's 7, the left-hander over the crest.
Oh, interestingly enough, they're coming up on some lap traffic. We're going to have to see if Sporto may have some sort of an answer for Eiran, although I believe that Eiran, within his own mind, feels he's got the pace to just outrun everybody here tonight. We're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, Marty's fastest lap is a 10th quicker than John's, but Andres Prieto has the fastest, no actually, Eiran Parsons has the fastest lap of the race at 15.9.
Man, I just can't imagine. These guys are really setting extremely fast race pace right now.
Yeah, it's quite fast.
Well, maybe not for you, Alex, but you know, for us lower lifes down here, it's just unbelievably quick. So.
Ooh, Eiran Parsons completely sideways. Ooh, saves it.
Oh, that Celine SR7 notorious for heating up them rear tires. You go ahead and start putting too much steering input. Real easy to get that rear end to swing around on you.
Yeah, it's very, very, very easy to put down a bit too much power and have the rear step and start overheating the rears, which gives you less grip, which means you're going to start power sliding a bit more, which will give you more tire wear, which will just slow you down.
Well, our top 4 drivers have got around Dan Wilkerson, so good job on Dan. But hang on to your helmet, Dan. You got a bunch of guys coming up on you, so keep up the good work out there. Lou Mascarelli just takes it off track.
And unfortunately, we have lost John Wathen to an accident.
And we've just got the camera on John. He has parked it in the pits.
Oh man, score settled. Inside joke.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So does Jack. and I'm sure if he's watching, so does John.
Well, we've got Marty getting around lap traffic again. Sportelli making his pass on the lap traffic.
Yeah, John Sportelli right now is probably pleased with where he's running. He was aiming at the podium, but he also said that he needs to think about where Andres and Rich are finishing because of weight ballast at Circuit Americas if he wants to have any chance of winning the championship. So he'll be strategizing hard.
Oh, come on, Alex. Let's get real. You guys, when you top guys get out there, you're racing to win regardless of losing ballast. You guys don't get out there just to lose ballast. You guys get out there to win.
Well,
let's be honest, Alex. How much effect does ballast have when you're at that level of racing? And when I say that level of racing, top 5, top 10, how much does ballast actually affect your abilities to stay competitive? I mean, we've seen where the likes of you, Andres, even Wyatt Gooding, one of our newcomers, have taken on quite a bit amount of ballast, and seems like no effect at all. Your competitive level just remains at its top notch.
Weight ballast is horrible. Like in the GT2 cars, the series I race most, like weight ballast is fine up until about 40 kilos. Then it depends on the track. If you've got sort of 40 to 60, you can still get up there, but it's very difficult. Like the car just feels slow and sluggish compared to what it is without weight. Then above 60, 80% of the time you've got no chance.
I would agree with you. So as a top level competitor, what changes do you look to make to a car that is carrying a considerable amount of weight?
Usually I stiffen the car up a lot and try shorter gears to get a bit more acceleration. So sort of stiffen the car up to stop the body rolling around and stop being, this isn't a very technical term, but stop being sort of wallowy in the corners and bouncy.
Makes perfectly good sense.
There you go, guys. Any of you guys watching this? Tips from the expert, who, as I've said before, could drive a shopping cart to the podium. So, we've seen Sporto take a run for the lead, and now in P3 we've got Andre Prado hunting down Sportelli.
Yeah.
Yep, these guys right now are working lap number 22 out of 61 laps. Don't know if we're going to start seeing any pit rotations anytime soon. These cars can still go quite a bit on this short track, but looks like Andre's starting to push a little bit more now, with pit rotations possibly on the horizon, to better position himself coming out of the pits and not losing too much time here on the leaders.
Yeah, Sporty.
I was going to say
Go ahead.
that John Sportelli might be on like a different tyre compared to Marty, but he's not fallen off of Marty's pace at all.
No,
So-
he's not falling off, Alex, but he looks, you know, I don't want to say this, but he looks a little sloppier.
A touch ragged.
Very well put, very well put, very British and diplomatic of you.
Yeah. He doesn't quite look like he's got... Tell you what he might have done, he might have put softs on the front and mediums on the back, meaning the car will develop understeer through the stand. Because the car looks sort of really horrible to turn in right now, although it just made it through there completely fine.
Yeah, but he's had a
So-
couple of goes through that S's that looked really, really scary.
Yeah, maybe he's got softs on the fronts and mediums on the back. Because of the low temperatures, the track's 23, ambient's 14. Like, it means the tyres won't overheat as much or as quickly, and it'll probably stop them from wearing a bit as well.
Ryan Schleif loses his engine.
Oh.
That's a shame. Ooh,
I just
barbecue anyone?
I just cycled back to P6, so 6 and 7. PMR is doing a great job here. Moses and Big Al Merriman, nose to tail.
Interestingly enough, when Al is not being pressured by the drivers behind him, he has actually got some really good pace to pull up on Chris on certain areas of the track. Looks like the more technical areas of the track is where he's dominating, and falls off just a little bit in the straights.
They did just run wide completely through a turn. Let Rich close up the bit on it.
Yep, and that is a great battle going on there. We've got Big Al, Rich, and David Poole.
Oh, Al Merriman
David.
goes sideways.
Cole making
Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
a big pass there.
Yeah, David Poole just got ahead of Rich. 3 of them are all really close coming out of this corner. But it looks like I'll keep possession because Lamborghini's slow.
And it looks like Mr. Smooth is getting into the action too, Greg Myers.
He's got that sling fairly trimmed out by the looks of things. He had huge straight line speed compared to Rich.
My Monday night teammate, Greg Myers.
Anyway, we are coming really close to pit stops. For me, the pit window was between lap 28 and 34, so we are beginning to get really close. And up at the front, John Sportelli's pulled back about half a second since the last time we talked about him.
So, Alex, are you? We know most of the time your strategy is to stay out as long as you possibly could. Had you been racing tonight, were you planning on about a lap 34 pit stop?
Usually I aim at halfway, then hit the pit in button, and 7 times out of 10 it won't come back as come in for your pit stop, so keep trying the next few laps and eventually I'll get in.
Yeah.
So I sort of start trying it halfway, exactly.
Well, we know that in GT2, that Z4 that you drive gets great fuel consumption, so we've seen you go extended laps out on race pace, race after race. So interesting that you would have aimed for a halfway here at GT1.
Yeah, in GT1 the stints are long enough that your tyres can get above 20 wear, which is when they become in a state that you should definitely change them.
Now, any chance,
like
guys, for a double stint tonight? Anybody tonight?
Well, here's the interesting thing, Jack. That you mentioned, I went back into the timetable, and the track temperature is only 23 degrees Celsius. The ambient is 13, so it's cool out here in Atlanta tonight.
And John Sportelli has, within the last 2 laps, set his fastest lap of the race as he runs wide. That was the worst timing for me to say that.
Well, broadcasters, but he's probably wanting to keep in as close a contact as he possibly can.
Yeah. Andres isn't doing too badly either. And Eiran Parsons has actually let the front 3 go a bit.
Well, he is
still a 3-second gap between him and Andres.
Still got him in sight, so you can bet that Parsons is not going to give up yet. Yeah,
he's fantastic at pit stops as well, so...
Just a little farther back, we got Juan Monroy in 5th. But Chris Moses has got one in his sights, and it looks like Chris is pulling away from Al. When, just a few laps earlier, it looked like Al might have had some pace on Chris, but Chris woke up.
Jumping quickly back to Eiran Parsons. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him take on a different tire strategy come pit time, considering the track temperatures and the ambient temperatures holding steady.
Now, Alex, any advantage here if any of these guys had taken harder compounds to double stint?
At this kind of temperature, the hards probably wouldn't have any grip and wouldn't be up to temperature as Juan Monroy pits. Like, I don't think there'd be much. Yeah, I don't think there'd be much advantage to double stinting the tires.
Well,
Like, you'd
good
probably
tip
lose.
from the White Lightning. Alex,
Yeah, I'd
you
have
want
to
to
agree.
you want to say a shout out tonight? Your dad gonna watch the broadcast or watch the replay?
I'll try and talk him into it, but I told him that I broke my wheel and he said, ah, then went to work. So, yeah. I wonder if he'll appreciate my commentary though. Probably will.
Yeah, we got some of the top guys coming in, Prado and Parsons. One right behind
Ooh.
the other.
Battle of the pit teams here.
Yeah, working lap 29, so a little bit behind before the halfway point. David Poole also ducking into the pits.
What you can do with the leagues here is pit maybe a lap or two before the guy ahead of you, and go out on new tyres and try and set a faster lap to try and jump ahead of them, just without having to overtake them on track.
Yeah, that's...
Well, I gotta tell you something. This being a short track and they're doing lap times in the 116s and 117s, they're already dropping back about 58, 59 seconds. It's going to be interesting to see when the leaders come in, just how much time they're going to be spending in the pits and if anybody will be brave enough to try and double stint their tires.
Yeah, Eiran and Andres have both taken tyres, and Andres just comes out ahead. That was close.
Yep, I was just watching that. Very close indeed. But now you have Eiran and Sportelli ducking into the pits.
Yep, nose to tail.
It's going to be fair. Boy, and Poole still in the pits.
Ooh, ooh.
Oh, and a little bit of confusion there.
I don't think John's in his... Oh, there he is. Yeah, Marty's just got a huge advantage over John there.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. But you know what? David Poole, I think, has got the worst of that. He's going back out with aero damage and he after just getting fixed up.
Yeah.
So, action on pit road.
So that means Rich right now is in first, but he'll lose that after the pit stops have all sorted themselves out.
Rich Roman, 1/2 H&C Racing, 6 points out of the team championship.
Only 6 points?
Only 6 points. So Andre and Rich
Ooh.
are looking for a good finish here tonight.
Marty and John away. Marty has a pretty big lead over Sportelli, and Parsons gets past Sportelli as well, so that was pretty bad for Sportelli there.
Yep, and these guys all have made their pit stops, so it's going to be interesting how these this shapes up for the remainder of the race, because I don't see any one of them coming back in.
Not
Also,
unless...
Andres Prieto has lost a ton of time. Somewhere on the lap.
Yeah, put him back in 10th. Wow. He had a 2-minute, he had a 2:40 lap, so he had quite an extensive pit stop there.
No, him and Eza came out of the pits at exactly the same time, so he's thrown off or something somewhere.
Yeah, I think you're
Is
right,
there-
Alex.
There's a 5-second gap between him and John Sportelli,
Maybe
and
overcooking those
a
cold
7-second
tires.
gap between... Yeah, maybe. That's just a lot of time to lose on an outlap. So, after all the pit stops sort themselves out, that means Eiran Parsons has probably a net second place, after being 4 seconds behind just before the pit stops.
Well,
So John Ludden, Andres Cole, Marco Conti still yet to make their pit stops, running on your top 3 order.
And Ludden into the pits. Cole into the pits.
Going for 3? Yes, we're going
Yes,
for 3.
there is.
Conti into the pits. So that'll shuffle the leaders back up to the top of the board. Marty Eiran followed by Eiran Parsons and John Sportelli. So there's about 3 seconds separating these folks as they come down the back straight.
And there is a gaggle of guys
Parsons.
in the pits. We've got 5 guys in the pits right now.
I think Eiran Parsons is just set. No, he's mine. I thought he just set the fast lap of the race, but he didn't.
So the biggest change we've got Marty Eiran out in P1. Eiran Parsons is now in P2 with Sportelli in 3rd and Brado in 4th.
Oh, Parsons has a run on Marcy, maybe.
Yep, trying to get around some lap traffic.
This lane's much faster in a straight line than the McLaren F1, so if Ezza can get the exit of this corner right, he'll be able to get a slipstream, which I think he has. Maybe. Yeah, he's beginning to close on him now.
On
Marcy
board with
goes
Eiran
defensive.
Parsons.
Very defensive.
Whoa, super defensive there. But that's going to leave a really shallow entry into that corner.
Yeah, so if Ezza can get out of here better, then he might be able to go into turn 1, but it doesn't look like he has. So there's opportunity gone for Ezza.
Really defensive move on Marty's drive through that corner 10. And Marty and Ezza
both make the same mistake.
And Eiran Parsons will be the beneficiary of that one with John Sportelli right on his tail. I don't see these guys giving Eiran Parsons another opportunity like he had previously.
No, I think the biggest winner out of that one was Sportelli, to be honest with you, because Parsons looks a little rattled right now.
If John can do what Ezza just tried to do the last lap, he will have a run on him.
And he is
Although
right
that
up.
didn't happen and that was close. Nah, I think he was too aggressive going into that turn there.
Oh, Parsons got about 6 inches of his rear tire out on that grass, and that's what did him in there.
Yeah. I think Marcy will be kicking himself a lot more. He just threw away the lead.
Boy, this is a great battle here for P1.
It sure is. It's going to be interesting to see how Eiran Parsons handles this opportunity that he has been given, because John Sportelli seems to have some pace here.
Whoa, Parsons way wide for that corner there.
Yeah, it's an odd line to take into that corner. I was going to say that myself. Andres Pareto with a bit of lap traffic there holding him up.
Yep, but the lap traffic giving him the dip of the lights and saying, come on through. Oh, Sportelli again, same corner locking it up there.
Yeah, John would be doing himself a huge favour if he wasn't as aggressive going into there.
Yeah, I got to agree with
And
you, Alex.
sure.
If he's just backed off just a little bit to get a better run coming out of that corner, he'd be able to get him.
Sometimes slower is faster.
Exactly.
Well, I haven't found that to work out too well for me, guys, but... maybe we should have a 6-hour endurance race, and maybe my slower and faster might work out for me, but it hasn't done too well so far.
Right. Wrong this guy. Yeah, Eiran takes a really weird line into turn 3.
Yeah, super wide to open that corner up for him. It seems to be working for him, though.
Yeah, I tried that a couple of times during the couple laps of practice I had when my wheel was firmly attached to the table. Like, I found it really awkward to use that line. I don't know what is a season of.
Well, John just can't seem to get that last corner before the back straightaway sorted out.
Oh! Back in P8, Chris Moses having a battle with Rich Roman, Greg Myers, and we just had an off. I believe it was Juan Monroy who happened to be tangled up in that mess and got pushed off.
Greg Myers just got a run on Rich. And Greg Myers takes 8th position from Rich, so this race is going from bad to worse for Reg.
Yeah, I was just caught up to all that action with you guys. Thanks.
So you got Poole in 6th, Chris Moses in 7th, and he's got what looks to be an angry Greg Myers on his tail. Angry in the good sense. He's just driving the wheels off of that Celine. But not far behind, Rich Roman in the Maserati, and then Al Merriman rounding out your top 10, not letting them out of his sights either.
No, Al's fallen a little back from where he was, running behind his teammate there.
Yeah, meanwhile at the front they are coming up to laps in traffic. I wonder if this might play into John Sportelli's hands.
They're going around Dan Wilkerson, it looks like.
Yeah,
and
just
Dan gives them a lot of room.
Yeah, just before the race I was talking to Dan Wilkerson, and he says anytime he passes someone he shouts Viper dominance, which I found to be quite funny.
Well guys, I think that was Jonathan Cuppet.
Oh, very good. Yeah, it was Cuppet indeed.
In fact, Cuppet took it off and did a little bit of lawn maintenance to let those guys through.
What I found to work.
Sportelli is really close to Ezza and hits Ezza.
Tags him, puts Ezza off, and Sporto is waiting.
Oh, Marcy. Marcy's going to benefit from this completely.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think Sporto's got to back off and let Parsons take that spot.
Yeah. This could... 3 of them going...
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Ooh, wow. Oh, that was an excellent move by John Sportelli. Somehow.
We've got it on the broadcast, Alex. How the heck did he do that?
I've got no idea. Ooh, Marty gets close to John. Ezza runs wide. Past the left to avoid Marcy. Everything is happening here right now.
Oh, looking at John Sportelli. He's driving that car like if he stole it now.
Yeah, I think he waited to give the position back to Eiran, but then realised he'd lose the position to Marty as well. And didn't want that.
It's going to be very interesting to see how the competition committee sees that.
Well, a little hello out there to Mike Trussler, who is tuned in to watch the broadcast. I hope you're enjoying the action as much as we three are.
Lots of good racing. P1, John Sportelli coming up on some lap traffic. Why don't we give him a rundown, Jack, of the running order?
Let him go. I'm on board with Sportelli, and I'll run him down with you. Go ahead.
Ooh, Sportelli. Contact.
Okay.
Yo, hang on a minute. We got some action going on here. We've got...
Side by...
Yes, side-by-side action.
And John keeps lead again.
That's incredible driving by Sportelli.
Sportelli and Marty Eiran and Aaron Parsons right behind. But you know who has benefited from all this tussling around is in P4, Andre Prado. And a whole bunch of lap traffic, and we've got cars all over the place. Wow. Everybody flashing the lights.
Yeah, the kerfuffle has caused Andres to be able to close the gap, and he outbreaks himself and runs wide.
Good on Chuck Carter and P20 to let those leaders by. He went to the inside and said, go right ahead. I'm not in this mix.
And Ezra right now has a slipstream of Marty. Probably try to the right this time. Yeah, it goes to the right. Good choice, Ezra. And probably have the outside going into turn 10. Although Marty keeps on the brakes and runs wide.
And he is going to give up that P3.
And P4, it looks like he's dropped back to P4 because Prado capitalized on that as well, taking over P3.
Wow, guys, there is some great action out there. It is a barn burner tonight.
Now, I wonder if after John hit Ezra off earlier, he'll give the lead to Ezra. Thought.
Well,
be interesting to see. Not
well, that's a thought, but yeah, come on, Alex.
That'd be fair.
It definitely would be fair. It definitely would be fair. It would be you know, if they got out there 1 and 2 and could put a gap on the rest, it would be the most sportsmanlike move I have ever seen. But I have my doubts.
Fair enough.
Especially, you know, we saw what happened there before when Marty slipped through the middle there when that happened. So if these guys can get a bit of a breakaway going, that might just happen, as Marty is all sloppy all over that last corner there in corner 10.
Well, we're going to see Marty Eiran starting to push a lot harder now, trying to gain back the positions that he's lost. No wonder there.
All right, they're settling down a little bit, so let's do a rundown, boys.
So, P1, John Sportelli, P2, Eiran Parsons, and Andres Prado in third, Marty Eiran in fourth, Juan Monroy in fifth.
David Poole in sixth, Chris Mosey's in seventh. Oh, this is... Greg Myers in eighth, Rich Roman in ninth, Al Merriman in 10th.
Yep, and John Ludden, after having been bumped down to 23rd because of an off, has made his way all the way back up to P11. Salem Montgomery in 12, Andres Cole 13, Marco Conti 14, and John Houston 15th.
John McIntyre's 16th, Cup Douglas is 17th, Sergio Calderon is 18th, Dan Wilkerson is 19th, and Chuck Carter is 20th, with Jonathan Cuppett in 21st.
And that is your running order, folks.
Well, we have got...
So just real quick.
Go ahead, Ken.
I was just going to say, just real quick, we haven't given him much love tonight, but John Houston currently sitting in P15 driving the Aston Martin tonight. I read on the forums that he was looking forward to driving this track tonight. I guess he's got an affinity or...
It's a runway. Is it all over the place?
Yeah, as they're going around Marco Conti, and it looks like Prado's got to get around his own teammate now too.
That's, well, that's not how teammates usually work. Ooh.
Whoa, 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 and we've got contact there. Prado off.
Well, usually teammates are meant to help each other. That was a mess.
Whoa, and Prado flashing the lights, and he is, could I say upset?
Upset might be the best possible word right now.
Do you think that dip of the lights is saying, I want that spot back, so just move over and give it back to me?
That'd be one way of interpreting it. No, yeah, that word.
Well, and he is still on his headlights. But you know, guys, at this stage of the game, I would, and guess what?
There we go.
He gave it back to him.
Yep,
Well,
he gave it back to him.
our senior statesman, Marty Eiran, racing out of California, he is our oldest driver at NAGP.
We prefer the term most mature.
Well, he probably would, but I'm calling a spade a spade. He's the oldest driver out there.
He's the old guy.
Hey, I'm the second old guy here.
I'll just stay quiet in the corner. Meanwhile, up at the front, John Sporcelli has let Aaron Parsons back, exactly like I predicted. Good sportsmanlike by John. Good sportsmanship, sorry.
Yeah, so our leader's displaying some good sportsmanship out on the track, and I guess Sporto feels that he's got what it takes to battle him cleanly for that lead, and we're going to have to see. These guys are past the halfway point this time.
And
Yeah, they're on lap 44 out of 61, 15 left.
And you know what? Sporto is all over the back of him again. Now, I wonder if John has learned to maybe ease off on that corner 10 and try and get a better run on it.
Yeah, we'll find out.
We know that the McLaren has displayed a better pace here tonight over the Celine. So we'll just have to see what happens within the next few laps.
Although all that mess that just happened recently has allowed first and second to get a gap of about 9 seconds to third and fourth.
Yeah, that coming together, Prado and Eiran, didn't help them actually. So they're gonna, looks like they're gonna be battling it out for the final podium position.
Quick update on Chris Moses and Gregory Myers for Ps 7 and 8. They've got a little bit of a battle going on themselves. Moses with the advantage down the straights and the higher top speed, but every time they get into the twisties, Greg Myers seems to be able to pull up on his bumper.
Well, Greg drives a smoother line, as we've mentioned in previous races, and Chris tends to let it hang all out there, so going to be interesting to see, but no slouch. I mean, Chris is not going to be an easy guy to get around.
One thing I've always sort of noticed about Chris Moses and the way he drives is if he was driving the car properly, he'd be looking out the side windows the whole time. That's how sideways he drives.
Something like a Japanese drifter, are you saying, Alex?
Just a bit. He might score himself depending on the corners, you never know.
Well, his teammate Big Al back in 9. And Rich Roman all the way back to 10. Now a little farther back, Salem Montgomery is, picked up his shoes. He's sitting in P11 or P12. He's doing real well. Got a lot of clean track.
Yeah. A little surprised actually to see Salem Montgomery running down there in P12, but in all fairness, he did drop out of the quali session and had to rejoin us from the back of the field in quali 2. Because otherwise I believe that Montgomery would have had a much better qualifying position and started higher up on the grid tonight. It's an unfortunate situation in his case.
Andre.
I have worked out a couple of things for the championship and where they would be if they finished as they are just now. Andres Prieto would have the lead going into Cosa with 145 points, with a 10-point lead over Rich Roman. If he was to finish where he is just now, he would have 135 points, so he'd have a 10-point lead. But John Sporcelli would take over second place in the championship, as he'd have 139. No, wouldn't. he'd have 129, sorry. That was me.
So, Prado looks like he is going to benefit out of tonight's race the most, with Roman finishing a little farther back there.
Yeah. But at the same time, Andres would gain 20 kilos for finishing third, and Rich would lose pretty much all of his weight.
Well, we know that Rich was hoping for a 7th place finish, I believe it was. But P7 right now being held down by Gregory Myers.
And Rich is about 10, 11, 12 seconds behind that. So it looks like a difficult ask for Rich to get 7th now.
Well, the benefit going into the final round of season 21 is that he'll lose his weight.
Yeah.
Well, for a
You'd much rather have a points advantage.
A 3-hour final, is the weight going to be a bigger difference in that longer format race, Alex?
Yeah. You'll use, sorry, in the middle of practice. You use more fuel, you'll wear the tyres out more, and it'll be slower for pretty much the whole race, because Andres will have, jet.
Yeah, I was just going to make mention of that as well, Alex, that having that success ballast has got to wreak havoc over the course of a longer race with fuel consumption, having to lug that weight around.
Although Andres would only have 30 kilos, so it wouldn't be as bad.
No, probably wouldn't, but again, I would imagine you want to have as little weight as possible going into the final round of our season 21. 3-hour race, it's a long time.
And it's round Circuit of the Americas.
Yep.
Well, thanks to Sargasm on the broadcast chat room there. Just picked up Big Al Merriman, who is picked up his bootstraps as well and is in behind Chris Moses. So they're running 8 and 9.
Yeah, he seems to have been constantly behind Chris Moses the whole race. Good race from Al then. Although he seemed to go to that corner right in the middle of the road, which was a weird line to take.
You know, Al Merriman and Chris Moses have been trying their hardest in the GT1 level, trying to put together a successful season. Have met some stiff competition from some of the other teams.
Well, PMR, they're sitting in third place. They're only 9 points out of team championship. So an 8-9 is going to be a good finish for these guys.
Yeah, they get 18 points. No. 17 points for an 8-9, which isn't bad.
Just down at P11 with John Ludden. John's having another decent race, going to pick up some points again tonight.
Yeah. Didn't he have his first podium last race?
Yes, he did. P3 for John, so that must have been pretty thrilling. Can't imagine what that's like, but it must have been thrilling.
Ooh, meanwhile, at the front, John Sportelli again. Not doing himself any favours, but he does look like he's had a very good exit. He might be able to get a slipstream, maybe.
On board with John Sportelli.
Very powerful. I don't think he can do it from there. My Cesar runs wide. Nah.
Yeah, the back end of Parsons' car seems to be fishtailing around a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep, just picked that up, and it just started about a lap ago, where his rear end is starting to sail on him a little bit.
And there's only 10 laps to go now.
So,
It's
Alex,
getting to
which car is
run out
going
of
to be
time for
suffering
John.
from the worst tire wear here?
This leans rear tires, definitely. So John will be looking to try and gain an advantage from that.
I think John may be in a good position here if he can stay up behind him, but
Oh, we have a question in the chat room from Johnny Lugnuts. When is it going to rain? I don't think it's going to rain here tonight, Johnny.
Johnny,
has
it's
another
probably
look.
going to rain on Saturday when we want to get the motorbikes out.
Yeah, John looks like he's got a ton more grip than Ezra right now, especially exiting the corners.
Well, we've seen this before. Eiran Parsons, again, the Saline, notorious for cooking those rear tires, giving Sportelli the advantage. That McLaren, also a much grippier car with high downforce around tracks like this. So,
Ooh,
yeah, I have to
Sportelli
agree
went
with you, Alex, that Saline is probably the worst on rear tire wear out of the entire lineup.
Well, Sportelli sure looks like he's pushing really hard and caught a little bit of gravel there going through the S's.
But he did very, very quickly make up the gap. And Ez is on the grass. Ez is looking good for John right now. John can find a way past Ezra.
Easier said than
See the
done.
work? Yeah,
But he's got some pull off of him right now. He's going to take a look down the inside.
up the inside. He's outbraked himself.
Oh, lost his braking zone.
He's gonna have to get that back, surely. Ooh! It's another kerfuffle.
And I think he's just waiting for a spot to let Eiran back out in front.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It doesn't look like he's slowing down to me.
Well, I don't know
Run,
if he's...
Sporto, run.
I don't know if he's going to actually slow down, but once Eiran gets right there, he'll probably let him go. Or is Sporto just going to say, let the CC committee work it out?
Yeah.
Never seen anybody have to give up the lead so many times during a race.
And there he
There we
is.
go.
It looks, yeah. Yep.
Now, when he does it again, he's gonna have to be a bit more careful on the brakes.
Yeah, we got about 8 laps left to go here, gentlemen.
You know,
So,
guys,
does Sportelli have what it takes?
I got to make a comment here. This is the most well-behaved I have seen NAGP drivers all season.
Oh, well, that's not good. Then we're going to ruin our reputation.
I know we got nothing. We got nothing to, you know, to chatter about. But boy, it
Parsons
sure
getting
is.
held up massively by traffic.
Yeah, and Sporto the same, because it's not a good place to be passing.
It's not,
That's
but I
what
know that
happened.
blue flag is waving.
Oh,
Ooh, that was
bump and
close.
grinding, bump and grinding.
Ooh. Yeah, that is what happened when I raced there on GT2. It's got completely stuck behind someone. And Marcy and Ian both took advantage.
Whoa, and one of the Maseratis right off that corner. So just quickly, I hate to leave this action, but just quickly, let's just pop down to the leaderboard. Parsons, about a half a second over Sportelli, and they've got a big gap, 8 seconds to Marty Eiran. So Marty's running all by himself with Andre Pareto about 6 seconds behind him, and Monroy about another 6 seconds behind him, and 10 seconds to Myers. So they're getting all spaced out. The big action here is right where we are, boys, except for Roman and Ludden. Roman and Ludden have got a race going too, and Sporto all sideways there.
Yeah, Rich managed to get past unseen by the cameras. So Rich is up to 9th, which gives him an extra point, so he'd be on 136.
Lap.
PMR Racing, 7th and 8th. Can't help but think here that maybe Al is just letting Moses pull him around the track for fuel consumption purposes, because there are times, like I said, looks like Al's got a little bit of pace on Moses.
Yeah, and Greg Myers, who's got around Chris Moses, is sitting in P6. So Moses in 7th, Merriman in 8th, Roman down to 9th, and Roman has got Ludden all over him. So John Ludden looking to better his top 10 into a 9th position.
Yeah, looking through the lap time, those two were fairly close the whole race, like in terms of the times they were doing. 16s, 17s. Well,
what?
17s,
Looks
18s.
like Sportelli might be letting this one get away from him as Eiran Parsons pulls a little gap on him.
Wow, who called Parsons to win this one? I think Eiran called him to win this
I
one,
don't
didn't
think-
he?
I believe so.
Yeah. Before the race I was talking to him, he said the car feels good without any weight and he thought he'd do well. Then I asked him about how he would feel if it rained and he said he'd feel quite good. I didn't ask him how he'd feel if he won.
Well, I think he's going to be pretty happy. He's got dry track. You know, him and Sportelli have swapped paint and done the gentlemanly thing and swapped positions back and forth a couple of times. So he's got to be quite happy he's sitting where he is.
Yeah, I think everybody would be pleased if they won. It'd be weird if you weren't.
Marty Eiran in P3 trying to get around the lap car, flashing the lights and not getting any love right now. Oh, and they come together.
And I take it that was with Andre Cole?
No, it was with Sergio Cole. Actually, that's not for possession, never mind. It's more safe lapping Andres.
Yeah, it looks like Andres is just getting pulled around the track right now.
Well, he sure made Marty work for that spot, though, that pass.
John Houston back in P14. Marco Conti right behind him, so we've got a battle brewing here in the closing laps for P14 between John Houston and Marco Conti.
Go, Huey, go. Our stand-in broadcaster.
One thing I'll say about John Houston is he always manages to finish, and most of the time inside the points.
That he does.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Really
we're on board,
meanwhile,
John, and that was a big off he had there.
That was my
it
first
looks
taste
like-
of giving the commentators to curse.
We certainly
Well, it looks
did.
like he succumbed to the pressure.
And hang on to your helmet, Huey. You got PMR Racing coming nose to tail to come through and put you down a lap.
We are right now on lap 59, so we've got 2 laps left.
Well, boys, while we can, why don't we take a rundown?
Sure thing, Jack. So, Eiran Parsons still leading the way in P1, and John Sportelli falling back about 4.5 seconds. P2, Marty Eiran in P3, Andres Perito in 4th, and Juan Monroy in 5th.
In 6th place is Greg Myers. 7th is Al Merriman, who seems to have got past Chris Moses, who's in 8th. He actually did get past Chris Moses. 9th is Rich Roman. 10th is John Ludden.
And David Poole running 11th, Salem Montgomery in 12th, Andres Cole in 13th, Marco Conti in 14th, and John Houston in 15th.
Got Douglas in 16th, John McIntyre 17th, Sergio Calderon in 18th, Dan Wilkerson 19th, Chuck Carter in 20th, and Jonathan Cuppett rounds out the running people.
And that's
There
your
you have it.
running order. So the Wonder from Down Under, it looks like he is going to pull this one out.
If he does indeed cross that finish line in first, how many do we know how many wins that would give him on the season in GT1?
I'll check.
Well, I don't think I have
This will
enough.
take a few seconds.
I don't think I have enough fingers to count how many wins he has in total. But I do know from looking in past history that this guy's got over 400 NAGP races under his belt.
Wow, that's a lot. No, but for this season, I was asking. I'm sorry, I should have clarified my
Yeah.
question.
No, it was
I'd like to
perfectly
know
clear.
how many wins he has on the season.
Perfectly clear. I'm just putting in some airtime filler there, Kenny.
Airtime filler, I love it.
This would only be his 2nd one this season in GC1, although he has had 3 in GC2.
Yeah,
Interesting.
and there he comes.
Oh, he won.
So we
Yeah,
got Parsons in
Parsons.
first, Sportelli in second, Marty Eiran coming around the final corner to finish out in P3, and Prado not far behind in P4. Juan Monroy, great run for Juan in P5. Been quiet all race for him. Greg Myers coming around to finish it up, and looks like he's going to have no problem to take home the P6. Big Al Merriman, a great run for Al tonight in P7. And Chris Moses' teammate, so 7 and 8 for PMR. That's going to do them real well. Rich Roman, P9. And John Ludden couldn't quite pull the trigger and get past him for P10. Poole in 11th. Montgomery coming around to take 12th. Andre Cole in 13th. Connie in 14th. Houston in 15th. Good on you, John. And Douglas gonna take the final points position in 16th. Well, guys, we had sort of a rocky start to the broadcast, but what do you think?
That was an excellent race, and I was happy to be part of it.
So in the meantime, while he's down getting the Wonder from Down Under, quite a good race tonight. He did finish on laps, and a lot of racing action from start to finish, eh, Jack?
There sure was. I mean, you know, those top 4 cars really battled it out. You know, they had some coming together and swapping the paint. We always like to see that. And like I mentioned earlier, Ken, these guys really conducted themselves well. I mean, the sportsmanship out there tonight was par excellence.
That they did.
We have here our race winner, Eiran Parsons. Eiran, you just won your second race of the GT1 season. How do you feel?
Feels good. That was a really, really intense race. It seemed like myself, John, Marty, and Andres all had pretty similar pace. I think any one of us could have won that race, depending on certain events happening.
Yeah, looking at your second stint, it seemed that your tyres were going away a bit, and that was letting John catch up. Did you feel much pressure when John was, well, right behind you?
Yeah, the pressure was pretty intense. I think Sportelli was running a lot more wing than me because he was really fast through certain corners, and I think he was benefiting from my draft on the straight, which allowed him to really stay close to me throughout the entire track.
So, Eiran,
Intense.
I'm sorry. Eiran, real quick, you guys did have a coming together where Sportelli had the advantage and got out in front of you, and we saw you get on the lights. Was it you asking him to give the position back, or did you know that that was the sportsmanship that Sportelli would display?
I was thinking he'd probably let me back by, because that was just a blatant mistake on his part, I think. Just he didn't expect me to brake quite so early for that corner, and he was really fast into that corner. So, and I think I got on the lights because there was lap traffic mainly, and it's better to have the lights on for a safety reason.
Sure, couldn't agree with you more. So, as Jack had mentioned, we saw a very well-behaved NAGP GT1 race tonight where some mistakes were made, but the sportsmanship prevailed. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that was good. John to let me by. There's 2 times he made mistakes and let me by, so that was very good sportsmanship on his part there.
So going into the final race at Circuit America, actually I've not worked out the championship that much. How do you feel about it?
I haven't looked at the maths, but I think I'm a pretty long shot. I think it's mainly between Rich and Andre.
Yeah. Yeah, it is actually.
It should be pretty close.
Well, as the guys mentioned, Eiran,
Thank you very much.
it was a great race tonight. It was a lot of fun to watch. You guys displayed a great display of sportsmanship and put on a great show for NAGP TV, GT1 Thursday night. And we look forward to the race, the final, the big final to come up. So congratulations on your win tonight. And to our viewers, thanks for joining in, and join us all next week at NAGP GT1 Thursday night. Well, guys, any parting words?
Yeah, it was an excellent race. I was quite pleased to help broadcast it.
Thanks for broadcasting that.
Thanks a lot, Eiran, and thanks to you, Alex. But Alex, we'd rather see you out on the track so we can comment on your brilliant driving style, and hope to see you back for the final.
Yeah, hopefully. I don't think I'm working then. I will have a new wheel by then.
He'll have a new wheel by then? Well, he's got to have something by Monday, right? Because you're running in the championship for GT2, so best of luck with your endeavor there in getting a wheel, or at least getting the one that you have to work sufficiently enough for the race on Monday. Either way, we expect to see great things from Alex and Eiran and everybody else here at NAGP. We want to thank our viewers for joining us on NAGP TV Live, and we give a great shout out to you guys for supporting us every week.
Well said, Kenny. And on that note, guys, we're going to call it a night for NAGP TV.